Hello everyone. Today we're going to be looking at creating an email newsletter using Mailchimp and a little bit of help from Canva. If you don't already have a Mailchimp account or a Canva account, I'll leave a few links in the description so that you can go ahead and create your accounts. So once you're logged into Mailchimp, head on over to the Create button in the top left-hand corner. And from there, you'll see a bunch of different options here, quite a few to select over on the left-hand side. But for today, we just want to create an email newsletter from scratch. So we're going to go ahead and click on the email selection. And we can go ahead and give the email a campaign name. And for today, we're going to be creating an email newsletter that talks all about the importance of copywriting for your business. So we're going to go ahead and call it Copywriting, the skill you never knew you needed. Once you've got the title in there or the name in there, click on the Begin button. So we've got a blank email here, and now we're going to go through line by line and just kind of configure whatever settings need to be configured. So the first one is to, so it's who are you sending this campaign to? So if you click on the Add Recipients button, you'll be able to add the recipients that are going to be receiving your email. So whether you've already imported them, maybe you've already got a growing list, or perhaps you're just starting off and you don't have anyone to send it to yet. Go ahead and click on recipients, and if you do have a list already configured in Mailchimp, go ahead and select it. So the next part is the from section. So it's who is sending this campaign, and obviously that would be you, but what should the name be and what email address do you want to appear to your senders? So for the name, you'll likely want to use your business name so that the people receiving the email will automatically know, oh, right, it's from them. And then the email address that you would like to have seen as well. So for example, many small businesses have a Gmail account, and then they also have an email address that corresponds with their domain name. So this is where you'll want to use the domain name email, but just make sure that you're checking this email often, especially if someone replies to your newsletter. You want to be able to see that communication. And once you've entered in your name and your email address, hit save. And then the next is the subject. So what would you like your subject line to be for this email? So I'm actually going to use the name that I gave the campaign. And you've got 150 characters. So go ahead and insert your subject line here. That, of course, is the title of the email that people will see when they receive the email. And then you can also add a preview text. The preview text is the little bit of text that people will see after the title of the email. It doesn't always show up. It depends on how much space there is and whether people are viewing your email on a phone versus a laptop kind of thing, but it is good to include. And the great thing about Mailchimp is that they do include little tips and tricks kind of along the way. So you can go ahead and look at all of their tips here on the right-hand side. And it looks like we've kind of met all of their little requirements over here. We've got little green check marks, which is awesome. So once you've entered a subject and the preview text that you'd like, go ahead and hit save. And don't worry too much, you can always come back and change this later. Okay, so now for the fun part, which is designing the actual email. So we're going to go ahead and hit the design button over here on the right. You may be given two different options when you go to design your email. The option on the left, the first option, is the classic builder. So this is the builder that Mailchimp has been using for quite some time. If you've used Mailchimp before, you may want to stick with this one because it'll just be more familiar for you. And then there is the new builder on the right-hand side. It looks like a beta version that they're currently working on. And the choice is obviously up to you. I'm going to stick with the classic builder just because it's what I'm familiar with. So I'm going to go ahead and click on select over here. So as you can see, there's quite a few different options to choose from here when it comes to layout. There are also themes that you can choose from. Now these give you a better idea as to what it may look like, kind of populated with images and colors and logos and that kind of thing. So these do look more impressive, that's for sure. But to be honest, a lot of these are kind of just the layouts populated. So this is essentially what your email will look like when you select one of the layouts and start to play around with them. Save templates, that's if you've created templates before. Campaigns, so any previous email campaigns that you've ran. Or you could really dive in and code your own. So for this video, we're just going to stick to the layouts option. So you can go through and look at the different layouts that are available and pick one that you think will fit your content nicely. I'm thinking something like this first one might actually do for the email that I'll be creating today. While you're looking at them though, you can click on the magnifying glass to zoom in and view them. So the content that I have for this email is a mix of videos and blog posts. So it would be nice to have some areas where the column is a bit wider, where I can display a video. And then I was also hoping to use 2 columns to display some blog posts. So I think that this layout works just fine for what it is that I'll be doing today. So I'll go ahead and click on it so we can get going here. All right, so we're ready to get started here. We've got our blank email over on the left-hand side, the layout that we picked. And then we also have things that we can add to the email, different options, settings, that kind of thing over on the right-hand side. So the first thing I'm going to do is add the logo. So as you see, when you hover over different sections on the left-hand side, you are given the option to go ahead and edit it. You can either hit the edit button or just click on it. And on the right side, you'll be able to make all of your changes. So right now I would like to replace, there's nothing there, but I'll hit the replace link. And from there, we can go ahead and upload our logo. So we have the logo here now on the left-hand side, but Mailchimp is notifying us that it is way too big. So we'll go ahead and make it a bit smaller. So we'll go ahead and click on Let's Fix It. And from there, we'll be able to resize and crop it if needed. So in the bottom left-hand corner, we've got the dimensions down here. So I'll go ahead and make it a bit smaller. And then hit save. Okay, and now Mailchimp is saying, great, it isn't too large and it's not going to destroy the person's inbox. We can also play with the sizing of the image here. It's a bit overwhelming when it's at 100%, so we can take it down a bit. And as you work through your Mailchimp newsletter, you can hit save and close whenever you finish working on a section, or you can simply click on the next section that you want to work on, and it will open it for you on the right-hand side. Now for the top header, I would like to only have the logo and then the background, which we will change. Clearly that does not stand out enough on a light background. But for right now, I want to remove this section entirely because we don't really need this little bit of text here. So to remove a section, simply click on the delete button or the little garbage can. Go ahead and hit delete. And now we're going to go ahead and edit the background here. So as you hover over the top section here, you'll notice that you have an option to edit the color, to change the color, or upload an image for the background. So first I'm going to look at changing the color. And you can literally pick any color you'd like. You can also upload an image, and this is where Canva comes in. Again, if you don't already have Canva, I'll leave a link to set up a free trial in the description. And the great thing about Canva is that it is very useful for doing things like creating social media posts, business cards, logos, that kind of thing, and that is what it is known for. But it also has an option to create email headers. Now, you won't necessarily find it under the template section, but you can search for it in the search bar. So go ahead and click on email headers, and it's already the right dimensions that Mailchimp will accept, which is great. And from here, we have tons and tons of different email headers to use. Now, as you know, we already have added our logo to the header here, and you could add the logo to the header in Canva and call it a day. You know, that's actually more convenient in that you would just have the one image that you would then upload every time that you want to create an email. The only disadvantage to that is that when someone is viewing your email on a phone, for example, versus, a large computer screen, having a logo as one piece and then the background image as the other, it will allow the email to become a little more responsive. And so from that standpoint, you may want to just keep it as is, have the logo, and then a separate image for the background. Otherwise, when the device goes from big to small or small to big, this may get a bit stretched out or cut off even. So having said that, I'm just going to go ahead and select any of these really, because I just want a background image. So we're going to go ahead and remove the text that's sitting on top of the image. Simply select it and either hit the delete button up here or your backspace button. Same thing with this one. And now we've got an image that will fit an email header just right. Canva also provides a bunch of stock photos. So if you click on the Photos tab over here on the left, and really quickly, you can also upload an image if you'd like, but I'm just going to grab a stock image. And since we're talking about copywriting, I'm going to search for a laptop. So now we'll go ahead and look through the different images. Now keep in mind that the logo will sit on top of the image. So you don't want an image that's too busy because then it'll be hard to read the logo. So actually this one might work. Same thing with this one. And I do like the idea that they're writing in this image. So I'm going to go ahead and try this one. Once you see an image that you like, you simply drag and drop it over to the right-hand side over here. And if you don't like the positioning of the image or the size, you can double click on it and move it around. And by default, this template has applied some kind of filter to this image, and I would like to change that a little bit. So I've clicked on it, and then I'll head on up to adjust, and then I can play with the settings. So something like that works. Now the logo that we're using is mainly white, so I would like for it to pop a little bit more when it comes to this background image. So I'm going to make this image a bit darker. And there are two different ways that you can do that. If you click on the image, currently this image is the background. But behind that image, there is a background color, which is black. And that's perfect for this situation because what we're going to do is click on the transparency setting up in the top right. And we can lower it so that the image becomes darker. And if you don't see a background color in the top left here, you can apply a layer that would make your whole photo darker. So to do that, we go to Elements, and we're just going to use a shape here, and go ahead and drag it so that it covers the whole image. And instead of using a plain color like black or gray, I'll go ahead and apply a different color so that you can see the difference here. So now that we've got this rectangle sitting on top of our image, we can go again to transparency and change the transparency so that we can start to see the image behind it. So this is essentially the original, or you can add that tint of blue to make the logo pop even more. So that's kind of a cool looking image. Now for our email, I think I'm just going to stick with the black color. So I'm just going to delete this blue rectangle here. And now that I look at it again, I wonder if it should be a little bit darker. And there we have our header image. Now you can, of course, be much more creative than I just was. Just to show you here, I'll click on Add Page to create a new one. You can head on up to Templates and play with other ones here on the side. You know, there are so many different options that you could take advantage of. And you definitely don't have to be as boring as I'm being up here. Okay, so once you're happy with your email header, head on up to the download button. And if you've created more than one, like I just did, you'll need to click on the one that you plan on using. So I'll click on page 1, and PNG is just fine. You can export as a PNG or JPEG, but that's fine with me, PNG. Click done and download. And once you've downloaded your header, head on back to Mailchimp, and we will upload the image. Click on the upload button. And now we've got our background image at the top. And if you ever want to preview your email while you're working on it, there's a preview button up here. And this will show you what it looks like so far, which really looks a lot like how it does in the editing mode, but you can do that if you'd like. You can also play with the height of the header as well by dragging the button over here on the right. So that's what it's looking like so far. And now we can go ahead and start adding the actual content for the email newsletter. So I've actually written out some copy already, so I'm just going to start plugging it in, but you can go ahead and do the same. And I would like to have the title and a little bit of text first. So what I'm going to do is simply drag this image underneath the block of text. So to do that, you just hover over the drag icon here and simply drag it under the text. Super easy to do. Next, I'm going to start copying and pasting the copy that I already have written. Editing copy in Mailchimp is a lot like editing a Word document. You can do things like bold the text, you can underline, make it italic. You can also add links to certain bits of text. So for example, in this last sentence here, I do talk about a YouTube video that we created. So I would like to link to it. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the title of the video and then click on the hyperlink icon. So we've got a few links here to where you can link to. So we've got web address, which is what a YouTube link would be. That would also cover, you know, a link to your website, anything like that. If you're linking to an email address, choose this choice instead. It will add a little bit of code onto it that will basically pop open the person's email client. An anchor link will point to people to different parts on a page. So let's say they're on the email and you would like for them to jump down to a part of the email that's way at the bottom. That would be an anchor link. Or you can also include a file, which would be, you know, let's say you wanted them to download a PDF, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and stick to web address here. Click on insert when you're done. And now you've got a link. And again, a lot like a Word document, you can do things like align the text differently. You can even do spell check, which is fantastic and very helpful. And then you can also do things like change the font, the size, and so on. The color, let's say we wanted just black, we could do that. But I'm going to change it back because I think that little bit of a lighter gray, it is the default. So I would imagine that maybe it's a bit easier on the eyes. You also have numbered and bulleted lists here. You can add an image if you'd like, kind of within the text. And then you can also toggle to the code view if needs be. So next, I would like to add an image here that's basically going to be the thumbnail of the YouTube video that we're linking to here. So we'll go ahead and click on this area and then click on replace. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the image that I'd like to upload. Now, the great thing about this is that this is just the thumbnail that we created for the YouTube video. And I love reusing or repurposing content. So it's fantastic. We've been able to use it over on the YouTube channel, and now it's helping populate our email newsletter. So same thing as when we were dealing with the logo, you can resize it, but I would actually like for it to fit the entire width. So I'm going to leave it as is. And again, it looks like my images are a little too big for Mailchimp's liking. So I'm just going to go ahead and change the dimensions here. Now it's basically going to look the exact same. The only difference now is that it's going to be a smaller file size for your end user. So the person opening the email, it will load faster for them, and it won't max out their email storage quite as fast. Okay, so far, to recap, we've got a header with a logo, a bit of text here, an image that we're now going to add a link to the YouTube channel. So just like we added a link here to the text, I'm going to add a link to the actual image itself. So click on the link link over here, and we're going to plug in the YouTube link again. And just like last time, we'll leave it as a web address. Click insert. And now if we preview, enter preview mode, we can go through and actually click and head on over to YouTube. Now for this button, I originally was going to delete it, but I think it would be good to have a button that said, watch now or watch video, that kind of thing. It may seem a little much to have a link here, and now a link on a button. But when you want a user to click on something or to do something, it's obviously better to have a few different options for them to choose from. Some people by default click on the thumbnail, some people click on the button, but either way, you're kind of covering your bases. So we'll go ahead and edit the button, change the button text, so once you've added your button text along with your link, you can click on the Style tab and change things like the button color, whether or not you want rounded corners or just a solid box. Things like the text color, spacing, and so on. You can also add a border if you'd like. So let's say we'd like to have just a square button, we can go ahead and do that. So the buttons on our website are black, so I'm just going to follow the same colors here. You can also do things like change the font family as well as the font size and the padding. The padding will be the space between the letters and the outside of the button. So for example, makes it a lot bigger. But I'm just going to leave it as the default. I mean, Mailchimp obviously knows what they're doing. Whatever defaults they have in place, I'm sure they have them there for a reason. So I will leave that. And I'm going to hit the apply to all existing button blocks. And then that way I don't have to worry about the styling again. Now the button is very close to the image. So if you have the same issue and you've got some spacing that you want to add, simply drag and drop a divider in between the two pieces or in between the two blocks. So now you've got extra spacing there, and you can either leave that gray line or you can remove it. So border top says solid, we're going to put none, and then you can also increase or decrease the spacing. So this padding top is basically the amount of pixels between that gray line and the top of this block, and then this of course would be the bottom area underneath the gray line. We can save and close and kind of look at it without it being highlighted to get a better idea. And that is quite a bit of space. You would either want it to be the same amount of space between the text up here and the top of the image, or even a little bit less potentially. So I will click on it again and just decrease the padding. Actually, I might even remove a little bit more. So now the button is a little further down and it looks a little more spaced out. Okay, so next I want to add a little more text, very similar to this box of text up here. So instead of creating a new text box, which I could do by simply dragging text onto the email, I'm simply going to duplicate this block. And from there, I will drag it down to the area that I want to put it. So again, I've already written my copy here, so I'm just going to copy and paste it into this section. So that is my text for this area. It looks a bit plain. I'm going to try to bold some of it, some of the important parts here. So this section up here is all kind of one piece of content, you know, the text, the image, and the button. And then this section here is kind of a new topic or a new section of the email. So I'm going to add another divider, but not hide it this time. So let's drag and drop a divider. And I think I'm just going to keep the settings here because I would like for people to be able to see the actual divider so that they understand that it's kind of a next section on the email newsletter. And this bit of copy does not go anywhere. There's no link. There's really no action on this section. It's just kind of a quick tip for the reader. And now the next section will be the links to our blog posts. So again, I'm going to drop a divider. Now you can drag and drop, or let's say we had changed the settings on here, maybe the color, the padding, whatever it may be. It's easier and faster just to duplicate one that you've already created and then drag it down. So next we're going to add the blog posts that we want to have in this email newsletter. And to do that, we're going to click on the edit button here and then replace the content that the layout had by default. And here you'll notice column 1 and column 2. So right now it's on column 2, but I'm actually going to change it over to column 1 so that I can edit the information that's on the left-hand side here. So first we will replace the image. And then next I'm going to update the copy. Now that we've added our copy, we're going to go ahead and grab the URL to the blog post or the link to the blog post, and then we can add it into Mailchimp. So we'll be adding it to the image first. So click on link and then add your URL. And then we're also going to add it to the text link here. So go ahead and highlight your text and click on the link icon. And click on insert. So now that we have this side done, we can go ahead and do the right-hand side or the second column. So one important thing to notice here is that the images have to be the same size. So for example, right now, the image that I've used in the first column, if we were to use an image that was a bit taller in the second column, it would look a bit off. Definitely make sure that the two images that you're using, or if you use more, that they are the same dimensions. So I'm going to go ahead and add our second image here. Hit upload. And then we'll go ahead and replace the text. And now that we've done that, we can go ahead and grab the URL for the blog post. And just like we did in column 1, we will add the blog post URL. Go ahead and click insert and then save and close. And now we have our two blog posts. Now, if you would like, you could edit the way that the text looks here. So for example, if you wanted to change the titles, you can. So how to write product descriptions that sell. So for example, you could have something a little more bold like that. Now I do like that style, so I'm going to apply it on column 1 as well. Okay, and then hit save and close. So why don't we go ahead and preview what we have so far. So far this is what the email is looking like. We've got text, links to videos, more text, and then links to our blog posts as well. And then the last little bit that we're going to have to do here is update the social links at the bottom in the footer. So I'm going to go ahead back and edit. And if you scroll down, you'll be able to edit all of the pieces in the footer. So for starters, we can do things like change the background color. But I actually quite like this darker gray. You could also update the image or upload an image if you'd like. Now, just be careful, that could get a bit busy. Normally footers are quite simple, but I'm going to go ahead and update all of the social media links. So go ahead and click on edit. And from here we can add all of our social media links. So I'll just start plugging ours in here. Now, one thing that we do have that I would like to add here that isn't currently here is a link to our YouTube channel. So we can go ahead and add another service by clicking this button here. And then we can go ahead and find YouTube or whatever it is that's missing and add it in. And of course, we're going to want to rearrange them a little bit. So currently we have, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, which is all social media icons. And then we've got the website and then another social media icon. So we want to reorder them. So just like you could move the blocks around, you simply drag and then drop to the area that you want it to show up. So now we've got the YouTube on the other side of the website link. If you'd like, you can also change the way that these icons look. Go up to settings, and then you'll see several drop downs with different options. So you could have icon only, text only, both icon and text. So you could have something like that. You can change the alignment, the width, and then also the layout. So for example, you could have icons with text underneath, something like that. Although I do like the way that that looks. And then you can also change the color as well and the style. So once you've decided on your social media links and icons and you're happy with the way that it looks, you can go ahead and save and close. Similar to the header at the top, you can also play around with the spacing between your actual body of content and your footer. So again, I'm going to go back and preview kind of one last time. So we'll have a look and make sure that, there's nothing that we want to change or add. Another thing that you'll want to do in preview mode is test the links. Make sure that these actually go where they're supposed to be going. You definitely don't want to send out an email that has a broken link in it or is going to the wrong place. Maybe I put in the wrong video, that kind of thing. And then over here on the right, you'll see what the user will be seeing. So that's who the email is from, the email address, subject, and preview text. And you can also preview depending on the device. So for example, this is what it'll look like on a desktop, but up here you can change to mobile and see what it looks like. And on mobile, instead of things being side by side when it comes to the columns, they'll automatically stack one on top of each other. In addition to being able to preview in preview mode, you can also send a test email so that you can see exactly what it's going to look like when it sends out to your subscribers. So to do that, click on Send a Test Email, and then fill in the email address that you would like to have the email sent to. You can also add instructions like, please review the email that's set to go out on Tuesday, that kind of thing. But you can leave that empty, it is optional. So go ahead and fill in the email address and then hit send test if you'd like. And if we're happy with the email, there's nothing else to change, we can go ahead and click the continue button. And that's it. That is how you create an email newsletter using Mailchimp with a little help from Canva. I hope that you found this tutorial helpful. And be sure to subscribe to the eStoreKings YouTube channel for more Mailchimp and Canva tutorials.